Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he expects important decisions to be made at the G7 summit of leaders from the 7 world's richest nations. A large part will be devoted to Ukraine, our defense and economic resilience, he said in a post. The White House says the G7 has made good progress on a US plan to use frozen Russian assets to raise $50 billion a year for his country. Mr. Zelensky, who will attend the summit, is also expected to sign new security deals with Japan and the United States. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has welcomed leaders of the world's 7 richest nations at the G7 summit in Italy. The ongoing war in Gaza, artificial intelligence and migration are also on the agenda. Hamas has pushed back after being criticised by US Secretary of State Antony Blinken for not yet accepting a ceasefire proposal, saying it had shown positivity towards the negotiations. The group said it had dealt positively with the latest proposal and all proposals to reach a ceasefire agreement. It said while Mr. Blinken continues to talk about Israel's approval of the latest proposal, we have not heard any Israeli official voicing approval. Mr. Blinken has repeatedly said that Israel has accepted a ceasefire proposal outlined by President Biden on the 31st of May. Argentina's Senate has narrowly approved President Javier Milei's controversial economic reform package, with the vote taking place as violent clashes raged between protesters and riot police outside Congress. Demonstrators in Buenos Aires, who say the measures will hurt millions of Argentines, threw petrol bombs and stones, setting cars alight. A number of people were reported injured, with local media describing the scene as a battlefield. The reforms aimed at reviving the country's flagging economy include declaring a state of economic emergency, cutting pensions, and watering down labour rights. Mr. Milei, a right-wing economist, was elected in the midst of a deep economic crisis which he is still struggling to stem after 6 months in office. The European Union's top court has fined Hungary €200 million for failing to follow the Union's asylum policies. The court will also issue a penalty of €1 million a day until it changes its policy. The European Court of Justice said Budapest was in breach of a 2020 judgment that it had violated EU laws by forcing asylum seekers to travel to Belgrade or Kyiv to apply for a travel permit to enter Hungary. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, in a post on X, said the fine for defending the borders of the European Union was outrageous and unacceptable. The UN Refugee Agency says a record-breaking 120 million people have been forced to flee their homes by war, violence and persecution. The 12th year in a row the number has increased. The agency said the global displaced population is now equivalent to that of Japan. New conflicts in Sudan and Gaza contributed to the rise, which the UN Refugee Agency Chief Filippo Grandi called a terrible indictment of the state of the world. He called on governments to tackle the root causes of the problem rather than politicising refugees and turning to quick fixes, such as closing borders. Instead, he urged countries to work together for more durable solutions. India's foreign ministry has said at least 40 Indians are among 49 people killed in a fire at a residential building in the Kuwaiti city of Mangaf. The fire broke out on Wednesday in a building where dozens of workers stayed. Video on social media showed flames engulfing the lower part of the building and thick black smoke billowing from the upper floors. Most of the casualties are from the southern Indian states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Around 50 Indians have also been injured. Filipino and Nepali workers are also among the injured. And a huge fire has broken out at an oil refinery in Erbil in northern Iraq. Video shows plumes of smoke billowing into the air as the fire engulfs a warehouse building. Around a dozen firefighters are at the scene trying to control the blaze, which is thought to have started in the refinery's liquid asphalt warehouse. No casualties have been reported. However, local media report a number of people were injured. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.